to the first edition of Talks at AU for this academic year, and rather guests from Carbon Craft. So Carbon Craft is a startup which, by the way, is hosted in AU, and Tejas is the CEO, founder of Carbon Craft. He's an architect by qualification, but I don't think he does too much architecture these days. He runs the company, which is one of the hottest startups in Bangalore. Notably, they won the Namma Bangalore Challenge and were awarded 25 lakh of a grant as one of the 10 startups which could help improve Bangalore's problems. And this was awarded, by the way, by the chairman of the GPA, by the CEO of Axel VCs, and the chairman of Brigade Group. So these are all people who are very influential, who have seen a lot of value in this. Carbon Craft is basically a construction material company with a difference. And what that difference is, I'll talk to you, but it's basically a company which sits in aesthetics, it sits in sustainability, it sits in construction, and I'll hand it over to Tejas. He has a very beautiful looking logo, beautiful looking deck, which he'll run you through first. So I'll hand it over to Tejas. Please welcome him.
Perfect. What I learned was this is your first session, and one, it is great that I'm the one taking it, and it's also equally scary to be judged with the first session itself. Let me just take a look at the people who are here. Are you guys from Bangalore, outside of Bangalore? How many from Bangalore? Raise your hands. Wow, quite a lot of you. Outside of Bangalore? Wow, lot of many outside of Bangalore. Which city? Does anyone want to just share which other state, city are you guys from? Apart from Bangalore? Andhra Pradesh. Anywhere else? Gujarat, Kerala, Telangana. Okay, perfect. So quite a lot of places. So what I'm going to do is I'll try to divide this presentation in two parts. One, I'll share a little bit about me and what we are building as well. The other part of the presentation, I want to have it more interactive, which then means that ask anything that you feel that you would want to know about my journey, about me as such, very specifically, about what we are building as well, so that you know the perspective as a person and the personality of me, and then what we are starting to build overall as well. Feel free. How many of you want to start a startup? Don't feel shy. Raise your hands. Okay. There's a big divide here, huh, by the way. So it's good to know. A little bit about me now. I am a trained architect myself. I graduated back in 2011, almost a decade and a half ago. While I say that, I feel old as well. And while I did my architecture, I was quite excited about biomimicry as a strategy. Biomimicry is essentially two words, bios and mimesis. Bios is life, and mimesis is imitation, which is taking inspiration from nature to design. That's what I was excited about while I was doing my architecture. Wanted to learn more about it, and I went to London, which is Architectural Association. That's the college. That's where I studied emergent technologies and design. That's where my technology background really came in. Post that, I wanted to practice it, but when I came back to India, thinking about it that I'm going to make toilet drawings. When I came back to India as an architect, I didn't want to do that. Very rebellious. Went to China out of all the places, worked over there, and eventually decided that it's not very different from what India really is. Just that the scale is massive, the speed is massive. The stories that we hear that in a street, if you walk after 3 months, there are tall buildings, it's true. That really happens in China. This is what I saw about a decade and a half ago. And then it was scary for me to feel that. Eventually thought that that's what's going to come down to India. And as an architect, do I want to build those kind of buildings? Is why I came back to India to see how we can really build. So as an architect, I have then moved from a decade-long journey of practicing as an architect, building buildings, to rethinking the way how we really manufacture these building materials itself in the first place. So the question that I came back with was, can we really build the way nature builds? Is that even possible? Short answer to that is no, you cannot. And to be able to build the way nature builds, you need those base ingredients to be able to build that. But those base ingredients did not exist. They still don't exist. What we thought was, can we start to work on that a little bit? So, with that question, do you know how we are building today? That's how we are building. That's an aerial image of Delhi. It's what it looks like from top when you see. And it's very difficult to spot even a tree in this. And that's because we are building the size of New York every month. That's the amount of construction that we are adding onto this world right now. And 38% of the energy related carbon emissions is due to the building and the infrastructure industry itself. With that, what do we really use? Cement, which is the most consumed material on earth, second most consumed material on earth, only after water. Most consumed man-made material on earth right now is cement. And then we use clay to beautify all these buildings. You'll see a lot of tiles outside in all these rooms, right? What are they made out of? They're all made out of clay. In both these cases, we're extracting from the planet. It's not just inefficient, it's highly unsustainable as well. As architects and builders, we are building for the future, but we are still relying on these old materials of cement and clay and everything else as well. So for that, we believe that it's not a construction problem, it's largely a material problem. What that means that the same material which then goes into these buildings, you would have seen terracotta? Yes, no? Yeah? You've seen terracotta based products, you've seen cement based products, you've seen stone around, stone that is used as well. What happens to all of those? They have the issue of efflorescence. This is the efflorescence that really comes with it. Like these kind of efflorescence issues. It becomes white across. And that's a very technical problem that architect really understands. This is a builder right now. And the architect called us and told that we are facing an issue with whiteness, white patch onto a wall, which is what we started to see. What is that issue? And it turned out to be efflorescence. The same efflorescence eventually starts to create pores. We have some tiles here for you guys to experience and see it. Yeah. So you would have seen these kind of products a lot in the market as well. The same products then start to have these pores on the top. We'll pass it on later as well for you guys to just experience it. So these pores eventually starts to create moss on top of it as well. The moss and then starts to disintegrate these tiles. It starts to create cracks onto them, and then it starts to fall off the walls as well. This is what we started to see as challenges for these builders and developers as well. It's highly unpredictable, not technical, unreliable as a product segment, and available only in the color of the soil, which is red. That's what you see most of the time, right? You don't see any other colors that you would have seen total environment buildings in Bangalore. If you guys are from Bangalore, you'll see a lot of these other products that are there only in red. That's when Carbon Craft was born. We are a material innovation company. We build design-led, technically superior, high-performance building materials, right? What you see in the existing technologies, I'll deep dive a lot more into the technology before we move into doing something else. Most of these technology products that you see are built with clay, cement, and then they are fired. They're fired at a very high temperature so that it becomes really strong, right? What we do is we replace this clay with 96% of recycled materials. industrial byproducts basically. We replace the cement with a proprietary catalyst that we brew ourselves in our facility. We replace the firing with a proprietary curing chamber that we have made, which then means that it controls relative humidity, pressure, temperature, the entire chemical reaction that happens inside. It controls it completely. It creates a microstructure analysis, which is an alkali based reaction to create various patents that we have filed for it right now. We filed for 5 patents. One patent is already granted to us. Another 10 patents is what we're filing for right now, right? Which is what makes the entire technology zero cement, zero clay, and zero firing. We chemically engineer the reaction to make these products stronger without firing itself at the first place. You see around you right now, the world will be built with cement. We can't imagine a world without cement right now. But we are challenging that status quo and we're saying that we can build building materials that doesn't need cement at the first place. Can we make this with industrial byproducts which is already existing, create a reaction around it, and make them stronger without firing, without using those base materials where we exhaust these natural resources itself? What we essentially do is we work with more than 15 kinds of industrial byproducts. We go into material engineering. We work with quartz waste, quarry waste, steel waste, laterite waste, aluminium waste, CND. CND is a construction and demolition waste. Essentially, you would have seen lots of buildings being torn down. That's CND waste, construction and demolition waste. It's broken down. What happens to all of that? It just goes into a dump yard. What we do is we can then crush them, sieve them, take them, and then put them into our base chemical reaction itself. That's one. If you see aluminium around yourself, there's a door, there are these windows, right? Aluminium. You'd be surprised to know 1 ton of aluminium generates 10 tons of waste. I'll repeat, 1 ton of aluminium that you see around you generates 10 tons of waste. That's the amount of waste it generates just to create that finished product for us to be used in the real world that we really live in. If this is the amount of waste that we are really going to generate, we are soon going to exhaust all of it and we won't have anything else to live with. The next generation won't have anything left. So what we do is we take these, largely we work with 3 kinds of waste from 3 industries. JSW, a lot of people probably would know them. They're into multiple real estate, steel, other things as well. We work with their waste. We create design flexibility for architects. Now, architects are, I'd say, unique creatures. At the end of the day, everyone wants their house to look very different, right? For example, now you're wearing a specific color of a shirt. If I give you a tone lesser than that or more darker than that, you'd be like, ये मेरा वाला blue नहीं है, ये मेरा वाला green नहीं है. That's what you would start to say, right? And for that, we need to create design flexibility with our materials, standardize them, get those finishes and colors to be able to build that. How do we do that? It's a 4-stage proprietary process, which is collect, process, build, cure. We collect the various industrial byproducts, we process them at the facility from where it's being procured. We then send it to Hubli, which is where our manufacturing unit is. It's been outsourced, so we work with women artisans over there who are doing something else earlier. We've trained them into this work as well. And then we put them into a curing chamber. The curing chamber is half the size of this room right now. So you imagine you would have seen baking, right? You take these trays and then you put them into it and then you lock the door so that you can control the reaction with relative humidity, pressure, temperature. We do all of that. We create the base reaction around that to make any plain pattern or customizable tiles with that. In terms of product, we've started the first range as Diwar, which is for walls, for interiors and for exteriors as well. It's available in various sizes, colors, textures, and finishes. We've gone through various certifications by now, more than 22 kinds of international certifications that we've crossed right now, including some technically being freeze and thaw, accelerated aging test. What does this mean? Imagine we've shipped it to Australia right now. So in Australia, you would probably know that the temperatures go like up to 50 degrees. It goes sub zero as well. So the range in temperature is very high, which means that it expands with heat, it contracts with lower temperatures as well. With the constant expansion and contraction of it, does the tile crack over a period of time? So there's a lot of this cycle happening year after year after year after year. For 100 years, you keep it into a chamber to see it for 100 years, would it crack? So there are proper codes, testing codes for this, which is BIS standards, ASTM codes, American Society of Mechanical Testing. So there are lots of these codes and testing which is already there, which we have passed by now. More than 22 kinds of international tests that we've gone through to be able to sell this to Australia and to Malaysia as well. So, what are the key value propositions? Why would someone really buy this? And when someone's really going to buy, like for example, say that you are building your own home, for example, or you're buying something for yourself. It's easier that you buy it only for yourself, and then you see if it's a t-shirt, you just buy it for yourself. But if there's something bigger that you're going to spend on, lot of stakeholders come into play. Stakeholders essentially mean that there is a decision maker, there is someone else who's going to influence it, and then someone else who's going to really pay the money, right? Which means is if you look at premium villa builders, why would they buy it? They would buy it because they don't want maintenance. पैसा वापस नहीं खर्चा करने का है. Once I have done it, is done. हो गया. I don't want to spend again. Which then means that they don't want moss, they don't want efflorescence, they don't want it to look like they have to sit cleaning it, they have to sit maintaining it over and over again. It's their brand image, their brand value that goes down all the time. If they see the building after 2 years, after 5 years, यार मतलब वो ब्रिगेड का बिल्डिंग ना ऐसा ही दिखता है. I don't want to buy a brigade building, or I don't want to buy an X building. That's what you start to see basically. Why would a UHNI? What's an HNI and a UHNI? HNI is a high net worth individual, someone who has a lot of money. UHNI is ultra high net worth individual, even more money, right? If they have so much money, they're going to spend on some things that they want to splurge on. They will spend it on their interiors, they would spend it on their building, build better bungalows and stuff like that, right? For them, the thermal insulation is very important, which means that the thermal mass gain should be less. Eventually, that reduces the load of electricity, therefore reducing their electricity cost as well. UV ray tint essentially means that it won't fade over time. It won't look like a dungeon after a couple years. You don't want to go to that building. बहुत जुना पुराना है यार, खंडर जैसा दिखता है. You don't want to go over there. That's what it starts to feel like as well. Why architects would buy it? Because it's also customizable. Now, I told architects are very unique creatures, right? They want to make something different all the time, because that's a demand also from the clients. My house should be unique, and that should, one, represent me. Second, it should not be there anywhere else. Imagine, oh, what's your good name? Tarun. So now Tarun and, sorry? Mudassir wore the same shirt. You would start to feel uncomfortable. Everyone's will start to see them. You don't want the same things repeating over and over again. Right? So the same way architects behave as well. They want to make unique structures all the time. They want it to make look different. This is different than that, and then this is also unique, that is also unique. So architects love the fact that it is customizable. You can customize design, color, texture, finish, lots of other things. I can go very deep in how we are going ahead, what we are building, and all of that. But let me pause here and do a check. If you guys have any questions, anything, feel free about the technology, about why probably I'm doing what I'm doing, anything. Yeah.
Yes. How is the industrial waste converted into powder?
How is it converted into powder? So some of the industrial waste already comes as powder. Some of them, they don't come as proper powder, they come as lumps to us as well. I'll probably see if it is there here. Yeah. So see, this is the CND waste. I don't know who asked the question, I forgot. This is a CND waste. So it looks somewhat like this. You can touch, feel, and experience it also over here later. But this is in granules in a certain way. This is, it's called OB, which is overburden. Overburden is coming essentially from the iron ore. This is also 8 tons of waste for every ton, basically. So this has lumps inside. Some parts of this are lumps. There's a process called as a pulverization. Pulverization essentially is um, you put that into a machine, you chop that into smaller pieces, and then you get like powder out of it. Now all the powder is going to be different sizes. You want them in certain grade of sizes so that you can do material packing. So packing density is called, because I want to make this, right, which is like a, I want to pack everything into this eventually. How much can I pack into this? So the grade size is going to become important. Imagine, for example, like a big boulder and like a small little piece of the boulder. If you put them together, there'll be a gap over there at the bottom. That gap is porosity, pores. Now, if that was a powder, imagine that powder would have filled the entire boulder, right? The same thing that we're imagining as boulders, imagine that at a small scale at this. That's called packing density eventually. So you crush them, you sieve them in various grades. Once you sieve them, you get like mesh sizes, grade sizes. Then you see how much of this you want, how much of this you want, how much of this you want, how can you pack it together, and then make something out of that. That's a little bit of how we grade it right now. There are 2 types of processing that happens. One is a mechanical processing, other one is a chemical processing. But mechanical is the easiest part of processing that we do if it is a bigger boulder and then you crush it and then you use it. But any other question? I hope I answered. Yeah?
Sir, when you use a mechanical process, there will be any side effects, sir?
Oh, no. So, what you should worry about, not side effects as such. If you need to worry about if there is hazardous substances in it, which means, I'll give you an example of Maggie. Maggie, kitne logon hai? How many people have had Maggie? Is Hindi okay? Yeah, and English? English, okay. Have people eaten Maggie here? You get some in the canteen also. Yeah, eaten Maggie? Yeah, yes, yes. Okay. So you've eaten Maggie. Okay. You know that a couple years ago there was a hue and cry about Maggie. Can anyone tell what that was? Can anyone remember what that was? Huh? There was a sort of a situation with Maggie, right, in the middle. I think a couple years ago. Huh? Lead. Lead and sodium. Yes, it was high. Why is that a problem? Anyone? Correct. It's cancerous. It's cancerous basically. Outside of India, if you don't adhere to the bar, it's not allowed to be able to to sell in that country itself. So if it's cancerous, why do you really have it? You asked me the question, right? Like hazardous side effects. Sorry, side effects. So what you should be worried about is, does it have a amount of hazardous substances beyond a certain limit? You can't have it zero. Even today, if you go and have Maggie, now I'm not demoting Maggie in any way. All I'm trying to tell is, every product will have certain amount of hazardous substances. It can't cross that bar. If it crosses that bar is when it starts to become hazardous. Same for Maggie, same for any other product in the market. Carcinogenic, that is what they call it as. Right? You need to have a certain limit to it. That is what you should be worried about. There are certain very technical terms as VOC, volatile organic compounds. Does it give volatile organic compounds? Have you guys seen painting that happens onto a wall sometimes? They do painting here and there. Yeah? Have you smelled the paint that when it comes? Yeah? After you paint it, after a couple days also, that it keeps coming, it doesn't go. That's a VOC. Volatile organic compound. That's a VOC. That's not good for your body. So if the tile or any other product is giving out any sort of substance, that's a VOC essentially. You have this Vim bars or things that you brush, like घिसते हैं, you brush it onto your utensils, yeah, all of that. The smell that comes, that's a VOC. That's a VOC. So you want to make sure that there is no VOC. There is a test called as VOC test. If the VOC, in the VOC test, there is no VOC that you get, perfect. It's lovely. So these tests are usually required by corporates, really big businesses who really care about their workplaces, they care about their employees and all of that. But probably for residences, they don't understand it as much as yet. So we're not aware about it, so we don't ask about it as well. Any other questions?
So you mentioned about the fading. Like, is this free of UV fading also? I mean, if the bricks have the problem of UV fading.
So UV resistant, what we say is we'll be able to give a 10-year warranty on UV resistance. So essentially, the structure of the matrix should avoid UV lights to be able to affect that entire mixed matrix so that it doesn't fade. The moment it affects the color matrix of it, it starts to lose the energy, the tinting strength reduces, and then it starts to lose its strength on it. That's how it loses its color, I would say. More it is resistant to that, the more it will be able to sort of give you the same color over and over again for a larger number of weeks and months and years, basically. You can't get zero again. There's always a bar that you'll get, and it will work for a certain period of time.
The equivalent of you putting on sunscreen.
Yes.
Same thing. Basically, put on sunscreen so that you get more UV resistance.
Won't be forever. It will be for a certain period of time.
Right. Just quick show of hands before it is. How many people here want to start their own companies at some point of time, or want to work in a startup or something? Just quick show of hands. Okay. For the others, why not?
There's nothing wrong in it.
There's nothing wrong with it. Right?
Yeah.
Why not? I'm asking this question. Alright, so people who want to start their own thing, why do you want to start your own thing?
Yeah.
Anybody who raise their hands?
Would like to share why you would want to, or yeah, go.
Put the idea of that in half the market.
Is there a mic maybe?
Okay, just speak up.
Okay, yeah.
We just want to execute the idea what we have. It's not that the market is.
Okay. Anyone else wants to share? He's saying there's an idea that he wants to sort of build, which is not there in the market, and he wants to build that. Anyone else?
So you create a solution for a problem and you give job opportunities for other people. And you have the option to explore your ideas and create models.
Okay, creating jobs and exploring your own ideas of what you want to build. Okay, that's a good noble cause. No one wants to make money. पैसा किसी को नहीं बोला ना?
That's the main point. Other comes next.
Okay, so be honest. What I would highly recommend is the startup journey is very raw and brutal. So the more honest you are about yourself, about why you want to do what you want to do, it will be easier for you to achieve that. Yes, money is important. While you do that as well, you need to have something beyond money. It's the things like you care about, which is job creation. You have something in your belly that you want to sort of try it out. Like, I didn't want to build buildings the way buildings are really built, and I wanted to challenge that. I didn't want to see cement based buildings again. I started with biomimicry, and then I wanted to sort of see how I can really do that. Didn't exist at all. That's how I went into this journey. If someone was really doing it, probably I would have been working with them than going through this entire journey of building an entire material base and the system and then really creating architecture with that at all. But anyone else wants to share why they want to do a startup, what excites them?
Say what they're saying, like what will
You don't want to restrict to what the world has and therefore build your own with that. Okay. Any specific idea that you have that you want to explore? Anyone? Or anything that excites them, any subject that excites them? Speak. It's important that you speak.
Speak out. One of the purposes of doing these talks is for you to speak your mind. The place where nobody is judging you for anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Take this opportunity to talk as much, because the more you talk, the more you challenge your own thought, and the more you do that, the easier it becomes for you to get there. You won't believe, I used to stutter when I used to speak, but now that I speak so much, it's sort of coming natural. I don't have to worry what people think, whether will they judge me. I don't have to worry about that anymore. All I have to care about is whether it's being communicated or no. That's all. So speak. Anyway, I'll move on to the next part, and then we'll again pause as well. Now that we've built this, how do we sort of take it to market? How do we sort of grow from here itself? So GTM is go to market strategy. B2B is business to business, and B2B2C is business to consumer at the end. So we are at the center, right? As architects, as Carbon Craft, and then we are selling this to architects largely. So instead of we going and convincing each and every builder, each and every consumer, what we thought was it's easier to go to an architectural office and convince the architects who are already there. They are already working for 20 different builders, 100 different clients that they have. It's easier to convince them and then reach out to them itself. So we started doing a B2B sale, selling it to a business directly, and then reaching out to a premium villa builder. We knew that builders are excited about this. They have a challenge. Like the capstone, the first one that I showed, the first mock villa had that challenge. The first mock villa that we saw had this challenge, right? They are building about 177 villas. If the first villa looks like this, no one is going to buy the next villa. They are building 300 villas. From outside it looks like this. If you zoom in, it looks like this. They are building 300 villas. If the first villa looks like this, no one wants to buy the rest 300 villas. And we learned that this is a huge opportunity for us, so we can work with these builders largely, but then we still need to work with these procurement managers, project managers. We have to convince them, talk to them, put some sense in them that you have to use this. They'll start to compare us with the old traditional products which are there in the market. This is something that you're getting at this price. Why should I pay so much money? So those are the conversations that we are going to have with them, right? And then a B to B to C. So imagine if you were to build a villa or a building or anything, or you know someone who would be doing that. Where would you really go? Traditionally, where would you really go? How would you buy? Anyone?
Building your own house.
If you're building your own house, where would you go to look for products? Sorry? Offline? Outline? Outlets, yes. Outlets, correct. So you'll go to like a store, start to see what is available. Same thing what you're doing. You go to a distributor, then you go to a dealer, and then we sell it to a end consumer. So the end consumer will eventually go to a dealer over here, right? They'll go to a dealer, but the dealer will not have a space to store it. They'll not have a space to store it. They'll just have like a experience center largely, but they need someone who can store it, which is what becomes a distributor. They will store it somewhere. They will have a go down. They will then distribute it to various other dealers as well. So we need to be able to convince the distributor and then be able to convince the dealer, and then the HNI, UHNI, or the end consumer can really buy it. So we are going down this route as well. We've launched in India last year, very specifically. We've then moved on to Australia as our first shipment. We have a distributor there as well. Then we moved into Malaysia as the first shipment, and then Singapore as the first shipment right now, which is where we are right now, right? In manufacturing, we are doing our manufacturing in Hubli. This is an outsourced manufacturing unit, which essentially means that we don't own it. It is someone else who runs it. They had the facility, they had the equipment. What we told them was, we'll put our technology over here. We don't have the money to set up the whole manufacturing unit. You run it. You already have most of the equipments. We'll put our technology and our equipment that is specifically needed for our products, and then you run it. And why Hubli out of all the places? One, because I am from Hubli. Two, because it's also equidistant from 8 major cities, which means that we have reduced logistic costs to be able to sell there. Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Goa, it then becomes equidistant to all of this, at least to the south that we would want to serve as well. We have a certain capacity for manufacturing right now, which is about 20,000 square feet a month, 250,000 square feet a year, move into 1,000,000 square feet a year, which is what we are doing right now in the middle of that. With distribution, we have our first experience center. All of you would love for you guys to visit the experience center in Bangalore. This is in Basangudi. They have themselves spent 40 lakhs on this to set up the experience center. Now, if we have to go and convince a local distributor to put money and display it over there, it's a huge ask. They are going to give their retail space. It's a real estate cost to be able to display it somewhere. They need to see that they will be able to make money out of this. Only then they will put it over there. It's a 500 square feet experience space. We've started only with the south of India right now. What we're saying is, we have one in Karnataka. We want to add 4 other in the south of India. 4 other experience states, experience centers, which then means that we have 5 distributors having 5 experience centers and 100 dealers across the south of India, which would then mean that 20 dealers across just one state. For 5 states, it makes it about 100 dealers. For the entire south of India, we should eventually start to have access. All the HNIs, UHNIs, individual clients who would want to go ahead and buy it, we should be able to give them access to be able to buy it as well. In terms of projects, we've done more than 38 projects in the last year. 3 lakh tiles have been deployed. We've worked with various villas, institutional buildings, government buildings that we've worked with as well, including NGMA, National Gallery of Modern Art in Mumbai, has our products right now. Hubli Dharwad Smart City, we've been able to sell to various clients, including Adidas. There are about 8 Adidas stores who have used our products right now. Royal Enfield has our products as well. Good Earth, Co-Evolve, various builders that we've been a part of as well. That's what it looks like once it's placed in various spaces. Individual tiles don't do justice to what it can really look like. That's a business project that we completed in Bangalore. That's how it looks like in a villa. That's an institution that we are just about completing right now. It's an incubation space. Um, Started with a 12,000 square feet facade that we did for them. This is also going to be inaugurated by the President of India in the couple months. Government projects that look like this, which means that you can design your own shape, your own sort of a image that you would want, an expression that you would want to share as well. So here it was more about 3D, a third dimension that we wanted to share in a flat space. So NGMA wanted something like that. That was a part of a swimming pool that they wanted to sort of showcase waves in some way. Moving on to the competitive analysis, and then we'll see that a little bit where we are from the organized sector, from the unorganized sector itself. 55% better in terms of thermal insulation. We're able to customize not just reds with various other colors as well. We're not just saying that it's red. We don't want to restrict to the color of the soil. You can see other colors as well. Use them, feel great about tonality of it. It's only 15% incremental cost from an unorganized segment. From an organized segment, it's still on par or even cheaper from them to be able to use it. So what we're saying is we're able to solve for a technical problem of efflorescence, moss, thermal insulation, U value. While we are doing all of that, we are saying that we are cost competitive for you to replace and use our products. While we do that, we're saying that this is eco-friendly as well, which is 2x to 10x carbon footprint lower than any other product which is there in the market. We strongly believe sustainability doesn't sell. If you tell anyone that it is sustainable, no one is going to pay you more money. You will get more money only if you solve for their problem. This is what we have learned in the last couple years. But you say that while you're solving a problem, by the way, it also happens to be sustainable. That's the only way this can really sell. So I'll pause here again. Any questions? Any questions?
I think one good point that you raised at the end, I just want to reiterate. All of you, irrespective of whether you want to do a startup or not, have come here to be problem solvers. Right? Irrespective of whichever way you want to go, you want to do research, you want to do a job, etc. You come here to be problem solvers. And as a problem solver, one of the big things you have to realize, for example, what he said, sustainability doesn't sell. Like, we all know that there is a carbon crisis, but nobody is actually willing to put extra money just so that they can solve for carbon negativity. You have to solve some other problem for them. You have to understand how the customers behave. You have to understand how the customers buy. You can't just straight away go to a villa owner and say, hey, you buy my tiles. Right? You have to go to the architect and then the distributor or to the architect and to him the builder in order to sell these tiles. So it's very important to understand the customer, understand the buying process, understand this, irrespective of whatever you do. Right? The second is to understand the key value proposition for the customer. These tiles are amazingly carbon negative, they reduce pollution. Customers don't care. Because customers care about aesthetics, they care about customizability, they care about durability, and so on. Right? So the value proposition for the customer is very different from the value proposition which you can talk to an investor or which you can talk in the market. Similarly, the value proposition for a corporate is very different from an individual villa owner and so on. Right? So I think what they have done very well is mapped out their customer base. Right? And they have built products which cater exactly to the value proposition of the the customer. That is something you can take out of this presentation. Alright.
So I'm going to pause my presentation here before we move ahead, and we can stop the presentation here as well. I'd love to sort of interact more than me presenting. Anything that you would want to ask me. Anything, I'm here.
So you displayed the previous slide.
Mhm.
In that it was mentioned that the water absorption level was around 6 to 9%. How did you just get the perfect defined thing for that?
Water absorption. So it's again, there is a BIS code standard which is already set. In that, what we do is we take the specimen, we put that in, say, a bucket of water. We first weigh the specimen before you put that into water. You put that into water for about 24 hours. After 24 hours, you remove it, and then you check the weight of that specimen again. What is the change in weight of that specimen? How much of the water it has absorbed in the pores that is there in that. That's how you know the water absorption volume, basically. So that's a very technical way of doing it. There are other tests for sorptivity that you do where you check. Imagine if this is the facade and it goes onto a facade. Once the rain hits onto a facade, now how do you know that it's not leaking? How do you know that the rain that comes here doesn't go onto this wall and then doesn't go inside the house? You see, right? The wall is damp, gila hai. You always feel that. How do you test that? How much of that is really going in? So it is also one is the pore density and the pore distribution that's there on that as well. So if the water is lashing over here, how much does it really go in depth? So sorptivity will tell you that basically if it's going beyond 3 mm inside, means it's not based on standards. Over a day's time, it should not absorb beyond 3 mm, which means the pores that are there should not be interconnected. They have to be distributed enough to have 6%, but they have to also be only not connected as well so that it doesn't pass it inside.
So how did you approach the foreign countries? You mentioned that Australia and Malaysia. What did you find out leaders who were
Outside of India. So we were a part of a couple programs. Those programs allowed us to match, say, potential partners in those regions. One, two, we knew that there is a larger market outside of India for these kind of products as opposed to what it is there in India. So we started to identify consultants who were already working in the space. These same consultants knew a lot of connects with decade-long journeys that they've had with, say, traditional products, and they knew those guys already. So they started connecting us with, hey, I think you should talk to him. Hey, I think you should talk to her. It'll be interesting. So that's how we got Malaysia and Singapore, but Australia came in through a program that we were a part of.
Since you have done so many projects, what's your revenue and
Oh, that's a secret question that we'll answer later. But it's
your per square feet price was?
it depends it depends on scale, but on a retail price, it's 120 rupees to about 240 rupees a square feet, which makes this about 20 bucks.
The color customization is additional. Or it comes
So 120 rupees, you will largely get the red ones. But anything else, which is the color, finish, texture, it'll go up to 240 basically. It's a range. But if you're looking at a large scale, which is like other villas that we are working with and all that, the price can be significantly lower for them because it's a one-time big order that we get, right? So as the volume increases, the price also needs to reduce. So we do that with bigger orders.
So one is the order, second is the logistics cost. It's lesser, right? I have to send one truck to that particular facility. I can load it partly, I can load it fully.
Yeah.
It's the same price.
So would you be comfortable to share the margin?
Yeah. So margins we run anywhere between 36 to 60%.
The SaaS margins almost, right?
Yeah.
but in a materials company.
In a material, yeah, which is already very commoditized, which means the gross margins are already very low for a commodity based product.
Is it technical raw material?
Now, absolutely same. We don't change anything. All we say is take our tiles. It's absolutely the same. Don't change anything. Nothing to change. Not even the raw material, not even the guy who's living, nothing. It's just what we expect is right now, example, you want to get a table done. There are lots of carpenters, right? All we are saying is work with a good carpenter. That's all. Otherwise, every Tom, Dick, and Harry is saying that okay, I can cut it, I can do it, and then they do a shoddy job and then say that the tile kharab hai. This is something that we hear a lot. So all we request is that, but we have trained installation partners. We suggest as well, hey, look, this guy is there, this guy is trained. You can talk to him directly, you can work with him, and we've done that with multiple cities now. We've trained multiple people at multiple cities so that they can just get the work done from them. Some of them are asking us to do it together, like a supply and apply. Don't only supply, apply and give it to me. So it depends on order size. We don't take up small apply. Only if it is beyond a certain size, we take up apply. Otherwise, we don't take up apply. It's too much headache for us to take up.
Any other questions? Anyway, by the way, those the ones who are sticking around for the tour, you can always ask more questions when you are at the facility. Related?
Yeah.
So that you can go quickly.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for all the